So, welcome everyone. Greetings from the Digital Innovation Pavilion. Here with colleague Nadia, and we are going to from IASA and online with the colleagues Reza and Hossein. Reza Yeganegi and Hossein Hassani. And Elena will join us also in a few minutes. And our topic will be digital tools for the engagement of citizens in climate action. With the Digital Innovation Pavilion, we are very proud and happy to have IASA as a partner, as a knowledge partner, or a scientific partner. We have developed together tools for citizens engagement in community level data collection, challenges mapping tool, and Hossein is our bridge builder, and he will make the introduction into the session. Hossein, over to you.
Thank you, Miro. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those that they are watching us and joining the session. It is my privilege and honor to moderate and kick off the session with the esteemed colleagues right here, Nadia, who I worked with her for many years, and also Reza, as well, a great colleague to be with him. I'm sure the session could be a very thoughtful session for those that they would like to know the issue of citizen engagement through various channels, as Miro kindly shared with you. If I may kick off the session here, the issue of having citizens engage in various parts of the climate issue has been a key factor and the key challenge for many projects. The factor or the work packages or the policymaker that they have this in their agenda as well. But the problem always we had was how we can engage the citizen. The traditional way of engaging citizen is not working anymore. And that's why we do not see that much of the progress that we could have seen in the past for the climate issue. So we have seen this. It has been registered by many scientists, scholars around the world. As such, we have two scholars from IASA as well. Perhaps one of the good point of the current era is to have the digital tools, and digitalization has been started from many years ago. And then how we can leverage this digital technology, how we can have them on board as well. Here, excuse me, here we have two tools that we can talk about. One is if there is a challenge, how we can engage citizens to contribute to this challenge. Because at the end of the day, we know that the citizens are the one that they suffer from that issue, and they rely on the policymaker to come up with some solution for them to support them to tackle this. But this should be two-way around. So while we are talking about citizens, not only they should report what are their challenges, but can we have a solution, tools that they can provide their solution for that as well. By doing this, we can include them. In the past, in the various sessions, we talk about lots about the use, about air carrier researcher. If we look at the research wide as well, can we include use in a better way? At the same time, what about the vulnerable group? Because they are the one that suffer a lot. And I'm glad that to have you, Miro, here, that we have you developed on the past year part of the European project that you can involve citizens to share their concern but also to provide the solution. That was kind of first attempt by adding this issue as well, by solving this. So citizens, they can come up with their idea in their local area. We talk about local SDG, and perhaps that's one of the key example that we can have a local SDG. We can have a local solution. We can have a local partnership with the citizen. That the project that you develop with the other, which is called social challenges mapping. While I'm moving toward this now, we have lots of challenges, like providing this through tools. In research-wise, in the past, we have a survey or collecting their concern, citizen concern, through survey, which takes time. We know the issue of the survey. At the same time, is there any better way that we are in a digital world to have their idea much faster and quicker to the policymaker? Is there any way better than this? And we have, in the many years, there are many researches that have been done that we can rely on social media. When I'm talking about social media, I'm not talking about one platform. It could be also gathering the data from the digital footprint that they have. When I'm talking about digital footprint, I'm making any digital footprint like what we search in Google, like we have in the other platform too. So the other point is, we know that the issue of moving the brain and the knowledge of the people have been always triggered by news agency, news platform, and other source of information as well. Can we include all of this part of this? So in this case, I'm pleased to see some of the colleagues from YASA that have tackled this issue, that work on this issue, that we can bring the intelligence from the social mind of people as well. And this, when we are talking about the social intelligence mining, we are talking about mining of the information using various sources that we have. And in the statistic, at least we could say the multivariate, multidimensional, looking at one issue is always better than univariate. So combination of the news, digital footprint, social intelligence mining, including those concerns and the solution that we have from citizen engagement, perhaps is a better solution to inform decision making using the data and statistics for policymaker. And in this case, I could see the synergy between what you have done, for example, in the challenges mapping. Perhaps you can shed more light on this in your intervention, and also what the colleague they have done here in YASA in terms of social intelligence mining. And we have Nadia here, who has a vast amount of knowledge about disaster risk management, climate issue, and the policymaker. She has done lots of projects on the policy oriented and the governance as well. So these are, is not unilateral decision, but is a multilateral, if I may say here as well. And when we talk about the statistics, citizen engagement, and all of this matter is a new of looking at this issue. I can add more and more example, but I think the synergy between these two and what Elena can add on this front, it gives a good takeaway from this session to those that they are watching us, and perhaps is a starting point to have synergized all of this. Back to you, Miro, and again, thank you for organizing this. My appreciation and thanks goes to IEA Galucho for hosting us today, and also for Evercity for providing the advert and also the media coverage as well. Thank you, and back to you. I myself cannot hear Nadia, but I don't know the other colleague.
Yeah, I cannot hear her either.
We cannot hear Nadia.
for a region in Sweden, like, for example, Blekinge, which is a mission signatory, and was the one that hosted the forum recently last year. Or, for example, in relation to the floods that we have in Spain, as you know, we've had some very, very, serious floods, and I was very interested to hear about the misinformation. A lot to learn from the previous presenter, I think, and I hope to keep your contact because I think it's important. So regions learning across each other, and then at the same time, another element is providing technical assistance. Also, mission projects. We have also the R&D, the research part of the commission with large-scale research projects, and also working groups that are working across, trying to link research projects together into the mission. So we have a group on nature-based solutions. We have another one, for example, on financing. These are large projects that are now, in a way, converging into finding solutions with research for the regions, which are really the ultimate beneficiaries of the mission. But the part where I'm engaged, and this is the thing that I'm going to very briefly comment on, is we also provide technical assistance to the region. So as a catalyst, we're actually now working with the region of Andalusia, the community of Valencia, Granada, Asturias, so all the regions. At the same time, this is also happening in Ireland, it's happening in Poland. So these regions and local authorities are getting direct support, like a coaching, on how they can adapt. Okay, so in the context of this technical support, a manual was produced because within the technical assistance, there's three types. One is about adaptation planning, and of course we're in COP29, and at the moment we are discussing the global goal on adaptation. So this translates as regions at the local level doing their adaptation plans. So we providing support with the mission to the regions on how they strengthen the adaptation planning at their scale. That's one part. The second part of the technical assistance is to do adaptation projects. How do you adapt your infrastructure? How do you adapt your tourist sector? How do you adapt your health sector when you have heat waves as we're experiencing at the moment globally and also in Europe? And the third type of assistance, which is the one that I'm particularly interested in, is how do you engage citizens? If we leave them behind, the whole idea of what we hear for COP, if they don't understand why this is about them and this affects them, then we will never succeed. If it just stays within COP, we will never succeed. So we did a manual, which is actually designed for the regions and local authorities, where we basically mapped what tools and methodologies regions and cities could use to engage with their communities. And what also was useful, and is available online, and you can actually tap in, manual for stakeholder engagement. You will actually find it. It's completely open access, like most of the things, because of this belief in open science, which I think is fundamental. So in this manual, what we also did is we actually said, okay, if you are, we had a conceptual framework that is based on psychology and environmental psychology, because we're really talking about behavioral change, So we actually, what we did is we said to the region, so we start with communication, then we engage, we network, and then we act. But we started with the idea that you have to enable, you have to communicate to the citizen. They have to understand and also feel what is relevant and what they can do about it. And then we use, a little bit of Aspen's ladder that you can actually go very shallow in your participation, or you can go really deep. And that's exactly how we structured the manual. We said, okay, in the adaptation planning, you have a number of, we use what is called the regional adaptation support tool, which basically has a number of steps that we just have to go through. The first one, for example, is vulnerability and risk assessment, which we share with the disaster community, right? And for example, one element is you could actually engage citizens to define the risks, right? Absolutely critical, that they see themselves and the understanding of the risks. The perception of risk, as we understand and we see, is fundamental. So you could actually have tools for that first stage of vulnerability and risk assessment. You could also do it, for example, for choosing between different adaptation options, or even when you're talking about implementation, how do you engage citizens at the implementation stage? So for example, we put tools there, anything going from just doing a basic survey on what your citizens think. In your region, you need to understand where you're starting from about. And this information would be one, regions are quite concerned about what's going on, not only with misinformation, but disinformation. So they need to prepare, and that doing a survey is a very basic technique, but very valuable. or much more complex techniques, like for example, doing an assembly. So we actually included as one of the tools that citizen regions can actually do is doing citizen assemblies. We, in the website of the mission and as part of the mission adaptation, we have actually even included videos where we documented experiences, like for example, the city of Bologna, Tallinn is also has been doing assemblies. So basically you can draw on experiences on how, because an assembly is quite complex to actually do it well. So that's one aspect that we have actually. We also one of the tools we put is how do you do a communication campaign, on climate change. Drawing on all the different experiences, and then the other one, which I think would be very interesting for our host, Miro, who's hosting this pavilion. For example, on incentives. How do you create the right incentives so then the citizen can directly benefit? And I think with that, oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. Yes, so if you could, this is basically, the manual is, we're now on version 2. We've done, the first version was simpler and the second version is more sophisticated. But it's really nice, you can download it. It's freely accessible to everyone. If you ever use it, please do tell the commission or send us your input. We really think it's important, because we want to improve it. And then just to say that, and as an accompaniment to, and with this I finish, within the mission, the other thing that we need to do, and that's why we want to engage with the Climate Pact ambassadors and with youth and with specific communities like, say, scientists, or for example, youth or farmers, is what we call community level events. And this is the idea that within these regions and these local authorities, we will do events with citizens. It's not just a theory. So at the moment, we are super happy because we've done a number of them. We did one, I know the one's better in my country because we kind of directly engaged. So we did one really nice one where we had a dialogue directly between the political appointees in the Valencia region before the floods, with a youth assembly that had been created by the university, and they had the opportunity to talk directly between the youth and the political representatives, about climate change. We also hosted one recently, the region of Andalusia, which is another one of the regions that's recently affected by the floods. Only a few days ago, they were evacuating Malaga in the south of Spain. They had a climate congress and they had a panel of Climate Pact ambassadors. And it was really powerful, for example, to hear, and they're actually here, how a football club has mobilized all their fans on climate action. So they were speaking. We also had an example, for example, of another Climate Pact ambassador that basically had done a book, basically documenting what citizens can do. So it's really about enabling people. And with, and I think with these community level events, that at the core of it is the idea of community-led adaptation that has to be, at the core of this manual on how we engage citizens.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Elena. And we have now Reza also with us. That's perfect. Reza, please take the floor and present your crafting sustainable policies, public engagement in society.
Thank you very much. First, let me thank you, Mira and Hossein, for organizing this session, this wonderful opportunity. I want to tackle the sustainable policymaking, and it actually is a combination of what other colleagues said today, and it was very informative and helpful. As Hossein said in the beginning, our main problem here is that we're making policies, we're designing policies that is not working very well, or at least it hasn't been working very well so far. But one of the issues that everyone now is talking about is that we have to engage people in the policy making. If it wants to be a sustainable policy, it produces a sustainable result. We have to engage people, because we need to address people's concerns, people's ideas, and people's priorities. So in the past years, we have been working on that in YASA, and we have been working from two different sides, actually. One side is including this the society into the policymaking process. So we can have community representatives as policymakers in policymaking process, giving community representatives a seat in the policymaking table. That actually we have done through different projects, and we designed a framework. If you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. We designed a framework for doing so. The framework actually is basically mostly are designed for disaster management. And in disaster management, if we don't address issues from people's priorities, the policy we make will not be effective. And in turn, it will cause mistrust, or we'll lose the trust of the public in the policy making or the policy that has been implemented. Next slide, please. Yeah. And to maintain the effectiveness, we need to have understanding of what people think and what people's priorities, and please go to the back. Yeah, okay, thank you. We need to understand all of this information. And as Nadia was talking about misinformation, if public loses trust in the policy in the time of disaster, it can increase the surge of misinformation. And then policymakers usually set up new policies to provide information, but because there is no trust, that would not be very effective. And also, the information is provided have to be the information that people are looking for. Otherwise, it doesn't take into account the people's priorities, and again, the policy won't work. We came up with the framework to include people's priorities, society, communities into policymaking. In one of our in different projects, we set up a framework to give a seat to everyone, make sure that everyone priorities, everyone voice will be heard. One of the projects is Mediate Project, it's an ongoing project, and you can read about it on the Mediate Project's website. Next, please. The decision analysis framework is actually working based on a negotiation. So, because it's a negotiation between policymakers, decision makers, and community representatives, every voice will be heard. Everyone has the opportunity to raise their concerns and share the understanding of the situation. And on the top of that, on the plus side, the final policy, the output of the whole framework, would have the advantage of taking into account everything, and also all the representatives, the community can understand why where this policy came from. So similar framework we can use to enhance climate policies. it means we can use that framework, that decision analysis framework, to come up with climate policies based on local needs, local characteristics, and also we will have more sustainable policies working for longer period or better. However, we have challenges here. The big challenge here is that we cannot give a seat to the table, to the policymaking table, to every individual, because it's physically impossible. So we are assuming that the community representatives are actually know the priority of their community, the characteristic of the economical characteristic, social characteristics. So we are assuming, we are relying on their understanding of the community to come up with good policies, sustainable policies. But that's not always the case. Many things in society can change very rapidly. So we need to have a general picture, a complete picture of the society, the community that they're representing, to be able to come up with effective policies. So this is the other side of the solution, that we are coming up with the social intelligence mining, and if it's mining, it means that it's going on constantly, and it's social intelligence. It means it's gathering information from what people actually are thinking, and what is their priorities, how they can receive some policy, if some policies actually are addressing people's concerns or not, what is the people's priority as an individual or as a community, collectively. So this is the whole idea, but technically it's has own challenges, because if you're using the quantitative data, it doesn't have the context of the people's concerns, people's priority. If we are using the contextual data, it's not quantitative. So many data analysis methods cannot be used in this situation. So we have been developing different methodology for collecting those data and actually analyzing those data. Can you go to the previous one, please? Thank you. So we'll be.
Could we come to an end in about 2 minutes or so?
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the. Yeah, here it's good. So with this tool, we can extract people's public discussion. We can understand people's value curves, society's value curves, and then we can use those to understand if something is working or will be working, or what should it be addressing. So if you could go to the last slide, please. Yeah, thank you. So as explained, in climate policy making, we can use the decision analysis framework to include everyone. And also we can use the social intelligence mining to paint a complete picture for the people are making the policy. That includes the decision makers and the representatives of the society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reza. Thank you, everyone. It's really a very important topic, and because we sometimes think, we sometimes think that everything is clear, knowledge-based, rational decision-making, and but in the end, we are not aware that these fake news, these conspiracy theories are very strongly rooted in the minds and hearts of the people around out there. And for instance, in COVID, I've really seen the world that I lived in with rational decision making. It's not a consensus anymore. If a scientist says this is the fact, other people say, I've heard a friend of a friend of a friend saying that it's not the fact, and they don't believe it, and they don't want to act according to policy decisions or so. And if we are doing this mass mobilization for climate action, we really have to consider this, and having this social intelligence mining as one element of the tool set together with these concrete do-it-yourself manual methods that you have, and also our global challenges mapping tool. But we have to be aware that not every the reality is not the same for everybody, and we have to work on it, that we get to a shared understanding and onboarding people on the ground. And with this, I would like to give the floor to the audience. If there are any questions, suggestions, Peter from Uganda, anything? You've been busy, I guess. Yeah. So, Jacob, would you like to comment a little bit?
Yeah, it was a very interesting session, especially given all the misinformation, disinformation, and the problems from society that it creates. With AI, you can use it at scale. Like elections can be changed and people can be influenced. So I think more safeguards have to be put in place. And especially at this pavilion, digital innovation and all the work that we are doing, and especially Vivek, I think we will be able to put the framework for safety. So it was really good to listen and learn. And thank you very much, Viro, for putting